Hey guys, I want to share with you guys an experience I had maybe a couple months ago when I did this hypnosis. And it was a it was called a QHTT session, and it was with a friend of mine who had recently learned become a instructor, I guess, or a facilitator of it. And it's a basically a hypnosis to go into your um, to speak with your higher mind, your higher um, to speak to you're able to connect to your spiritual self, like your soul, without ego, without any distractions or judgments or any of it. It's without any of it. So it's pure, it's clean. Um, it's like fresh flowing crystal water. And, um, my friend Sierra is the one who did it for me. She, it starts out like this. It's, you sit with a person for, we sat, I think, for about a half hour to an hour prior to even going into hypnosis. And she asked me questions about my life and the things I wanted to know about, like the answers I wanted to know. And I wanted to know stuff like what's my higher purpose and what's my connection to certain people, who's my soulmate, just I wanted to ask questions about my son who's autistic. There was a lot. There was a lot I wanted to know. Anyway, we got into it. She wrote some things down, and she's fairly intuitive. So she didn't have any trouble you know, I don't know what that word would be, intuing, inferring like what I wanted to ask. And she knew me fairly well, so she knows me fairly well. So it's not like you know, it's not like she had the scope of it, okay? And so then after we sat and talked for a while, she had me lay down and she started her meditation. I mean, excuse me, her hypnosis. And it was calming and soothing. And she asked the ego to step aside. She politely asked, actually, and it did. You could almost feel it in your body when it moves away, when it drops off of your skin. So before I go any further, I do want to say I'm not making this video to like sell anything or to convince you of anything or to even go do QHGT or any hypnosis. Honestly, I don't know if it would be good for you, and I don't know if I would even do it again, but I wanted to share what my experience, and this is just my experience of connecting to the divine, connecting to source, connecting to God, was for me. Whatever that is, whatever, that word you use, universe, the collective unconscious, whatever, like to the light within us, to my soul. Like I literally connected on the last trip that we made through my life cycle, my past lives and future lives. On the last trip, I connected to source. And I want to share it because maybe someone else has felt this, and then we can connect, and then I'm not alone, and then you're not alone. Or maybe I don't know, maybe you can get to this place that was amazing. So I'll tell you a little bit about the journey first. So she starts her meditation, and it's, like I said, it's calming, it's wonderful, it's quiet, it's dark. Um, And I'm laying on the table and I'm warm because she puts a really lovely warm blanket on me. And I got a pillow and I'm comfy. And she asked my ego to step aside. And like I said, it just fell off me. It was completely gone. And you can feel that. And then she starts talking about, going deeper into hypnosis. Actually, some of it I don't even remember because I was in it. I was under. Um, but she started talking about taking a ride, I think on a cloud or something like that, where I'm just swept away and taken away, and it's like I'm in a whole nother place, and I'm cradled. I'm almost like laying on a bed of feathers that were supportive, like a supportive bed of feathers, if you could imagine that. And I floated there for a little bit. And then she asked me I remember this distinctly. She asked me to climb down a rope, like climb down the rope when I was ready, and go to ground, like almost like to hit earth. That's what it felt like, at least for me. And I went down, and in the very first one was uncomfortable, was awful. It wasn't clean and lovely and beautiful and like, flying in the, heavens or whatever. I hit ground and it was like from the Depression era, like the maybe, I want to say 1890s to 1920s, in New York or Chicago. It was a big city, I couldn't tell where. And I was a child and I was barefoot and I went down and I didn't want to be there. And I looked at my feet and I was like, no, no, I can't be here. And it was so uncomfortable and dirty and um, dusty and dark. And I just remember it being so steel. There was lots of steel and, metal. And it was just really dingy and dirty. And I was poor and desolate. And think I was an orphan even. And I felt so alone and unconnected and disconnected and just like almost trapped, like almost like stuck there. So I didn't want to be there. So she can feel like in my voice, in my tone and everything that I didn't want to be there. And she immediately was like, well, do you want to stay here? And I said, no. And I was a scared child. I had rags on, like just dirty clothes and soot all over me. And she said, okay, we'll climb back up the rope, back to safety. And I did as fast as I could. Okay. So this is where it starts. This is where I dropped into first. And I was completely void of connection. There was no connection. And then we moved, and that was hard. It was hard to be in that space, especially like I'm an empath. I feel very strong. So it was tough to even be there. And then we drop in. I go back and I'm feeling more safe and secure and supported and comfortable. And she tells me, to come back down again. And this probably went on, I want to say about 6 or 7 times. At one time I came down and I think it might have even been this next time I came down into a hospital where my father died, and I think it probably was the now, the time very close to now. And my mother now was there. And I can feel when his human life ended and his soul went back to the collective. I could feel that, and it went through my body like a shudder. Like it was intense. And I remember her asking me how I felt about that. And I said, I feel powerful. And it was because I could feel that energy. And I knew that life didn't end there. You know, it didn't end with just our human bodies, our minds, you know, our heart stopping to beat. It was bigger than that. So I could feel that. So I went back up because that was another almost like fairly, that was a bit of trauma as well. Like it felt a bit traumatic also. It wasn't, you know, again, it wasn't this soft, subtle, beautiful thing, but it gets better. Okay. So the next one, and I don't have to go through each one. There's a few in there that kind of overlapped and they had similar feelings to them. And I'll just tell you that. But there was, so we get to the point now where I was a lion. At one point, I was a lion. Okay. So I remember even being a lion because she kept asking me to look down at my feet. And I thought it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, why does she keep telling me to look down at my feet? And I didn't like that because it took me out of the feeling part of it. And sometimes the environment, because you're in it. This is like, you're in it. You can touch, you can smell, you can feel, you can taste everything. Like you're in it. You could, we'll get to that. Okay. So, I'm a lion, right? And I look around. I don't know I'm a lion at first. I look around and it's green and lush and I'm in this like amazing garden with like waterfalls off in the distance. And actually a lot of my different past lives or future lives had waterfalls in it, which was, I love that. I was like, oh, I need to be living near a waterfall because like that's obviously one of my things, right? So, I mean, there's so many waterfalls. I just remember waterfall, a lot of them. So, and there's waterfalls off to the distance. There's a big pond or lake or something out there too. And it's just lush. It's like green and lush. And I know this is much like past, you know, very, very long ago. When the earth was so green. Like we don't have this, maybe Brazil or something, like maybe where it's very untouched. And I don't know where that is, but I'm just saying it's like it's in, you know, maybe I don't know, maybe Iceland or like it's just like it was so untouched. It was so green and lush, like green I've never even seen before. And I'm an artist, so like seen a lot of greens. Like it was just like beautiful. And then I looked down at my feet, my paw, and I put it up. You know, I'm looking at it and I realized I'm a lion. And then I see across the way my lion, I don't know if it was my partner or it was my lion, I want to say partner probably, but it was like my lion friend, you know. And he or she, I don't even know if I was a female or male. I don't even know if that one was a female or male, but I saw them. And one of the reasons I knew I was a lion, other than the paw, was I wasn't fearful of it. Like I wasn't fearful of the lion. I wasn't like, oh my God, it's a lion, you know, I'm like freaking out. No, I was like so into it. I was like, oh, that's my friend, you know, I knew it was my friend. And then we just like played and laughed and jumped and had the best time, you know. And we must have been younger lions, you know, like cubs or something, because it was just amazing. We even walked down to the water and drank from the water, and it was just magical and beautiful. And I knew I was a lion. I could feel the lion energy. I could feel even the fierceness of it, but more the playful joy, you know. So we go back up and here we are. Our next journey is coming down to, and here. So from there, you know, I get more and more as I'm progressing through this, I get more and more connected. Like I'm more and more connected, more and more connected. This time I'm connected to the environment as well. You know, I connect to the soul, my father's energy, my mother's energy in one of these, and that's the thing I take away from each one of these, and then I connect to the earth, the ground I'm in, the grass, the feeling, the smell, you know. I connect to this other being that is just, you know, that wants to play. I connect to childlike innocence. Like, it's not even childlike, like just innocence, like playful joy. So I connect there, and each time I come back down, because we go back up again, we come back down, I connect more. So there's a few times, and I want to say about 3 times in you know, sprinkled in here, where I'm a healer, like a medicine woman from a tribe, an older tribe, much, much older, like Aboriginal tribes, you know. Um, and I'm a medicine woman. Even one of them I came down, and I knew I had to. I was summoned, not even by someone, but by myself. It was the power within, the knowing within, summoned me to cleanse myself in a waterfall. And I had to walk in the waterfall. And people watched as I did this. You know, it was like a cleansing. Like, I had to be pure and clean before I could help others, I think. And I think that might have been a connection to my empathy and feeling. I think that was a way for me to connect to that, and then also connect to healing. It felt like a healing. Connect to being humble, that too. And then there was one time I was a healer, and I was up on this mountaintop. Again, I mean, this wasn't water far away, might have been a stream close by. And I was in this, like, almost like adobe hut or something, like really, I mean, like, it was so sparse, you know, like really old looking, um, like handcrafted, handmade hut. It was like a hut. It was like a mud hut. And I was in there, and I was the almost like high priestess in there. I was the knowing. I was the healer, and I knew how to heal people just by touching them, just by um I moved the pebbles out of their way. That's what it looked like in my mind. It looked like, oh, I can help you move these pebbles out of your path. And I would take pieces of wood and all kinds of medicine from trees and plants and oils. There was lots and lots of beautiful, lovely oils that I would anoint people with, and it would heal them. And I don't know how to do that now in my life. I'm learning, I'm learning more how to do it, but yeah, that's not something I just have innately or anything like that. Since then, of course, I've tried to do it more because I must have a gift for it. That's the takeaway of that. But it did connect me again to people, and it connected me to healing, and it connected me to, that was like gratitude and service, service to others. So that was another one, and that was an intense one because people would come from all over. They'd travel all over the earth, or I don't even, maybe it wasn't even earth, I don't even know. I know some of this is going to sound so nuts to some people, and I don't really care. I just, I feel like this has to come out for me. And if you want to write nasty stuff, go for it. If you don't, awesome. I'd love to hear some good positive feedback on this, but That's up to you, you know. So, and I've got a tough skin, so, and I know how to click delete. Anyway, um, yeah, yeah. So here we are. You know, here we are towards the end of my journey with Sierra, and I've gone through many, many lifetimes. Like I said, that last healer lifetime was intense. It was amazing. I definitely felt connected to that in more ways than one. I had somebody, they were helping me too, and I couldn't even recall the energy because there's so much to it. It was just really deep. You know, it's just a lot of detail. But I do remember how I felt and how people leaving me felt, how they felt um, saved, you know. I'm not saying I'm a savior either, like God, I'm really not. It's just how they felt that I removed blocks out of their path. And maybe that's to come, I don't know. I know I'm of service now, and that's important to me. So, I've got two more, and the last one's going to talk about what the connection to the divine was for me. And that's not to mean that, I mean, I want to make it really clear. I'm not saying I'm a God or that God doesn't exist or that Jesus, anything about Jesus actually. But let me tell you, if you are only speaking of Jesus as your Lord and Savior, this is probably not what you want to hear, and it's probably not the connection that I want to make. Because what I'm speaking of is much larger than one. It's the collective. It's a collective soul, and that's God to me. So so two more. Now, this next one's pretty fun. I dropped back down, and this probably actually came before this, the one I just told you about with the healer up in the mountain. Um, this one, I came in, you know, it's funny because I was curious about, I kept going back and forth with a guy I was dating, and we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth so many times, and we damaged each other. We hurt each other. It was a horrendous relationship, and the most beautiful one you can ever imagine, also, all at once, you know. Definitely what you would describe as a twin flame relationship. And I'm not even sure if that's true, but that's what it felt like, you know. So, you know, we pushed each other's buttons, we grew, we damaged each other, we broke each other down constantly, and built each other up, but not in the best ways. So I had questions about why we kept getting back together, and what the hell that's about, and if this person was my soulmate, and was I supposed to be with them forever, and should I be working on it? You know what I mean? Like, should I be just working on this, and or should I let it go, or what? Um, and I didn't even have to ask the question because in one of my lifetimes, he was there. And I was a tree. And I was this huge, glorious tree with these amazing, large branches. And I was in this grove of other trees, and we all could feel the connection with each other through our roots. We were all connected through our roots. And we talked to each other, and we shared things, Like we shared resources and nutrients and water and all of it. And you could, the intensity of connection was palpable. Like it was, even now when I think about it, it was pretty unbelievable. And it was the whole grove of trees. It wasn't every tree ever made that I could feel, but it was the grove. Like it was like a village, you know? It was like this grove of trees that we all supported each other. And the person that I did this on and off, back and forth thing with, this roller coaster ride, was one of my tree buddies. He was the guy next to me. He was the tree next to me. And it wasn't like male or female or anything like that. But he was the tree next to me, and he supported me. And within that life, I chose to no longer stay a tree. Like it was a magical life, you know. And I chose to no longer stay a tree and to come down to human form to help the humans. And I was to take my knowledge with me to help. And so when I chose that, I left and he stayed. And he stayed a tree. He wasn't my partner as a tree or anything like that, but he was the support system for me. And the karma between us is that I left, and then later on, he saw the struggle I had at being a human, and he felt like I wasn't like meeting my potential or my goal or whatever. I wasn't bringing the much needed medicine that humans needed, that the earth needed as a human. I wasn't bringing that. So he decided to come and help me. And that's where our karma is. And so since then, I've done a ceremony, a ritual to end our karma and to release him, because I don't want him to stay in this life stuck to me, and I don't want to feel like I have to live up to some expectations of him. So I've done that, and I asked him to join me, and he agreed, but he didn't. He ended up not doing it, which was fine. I think he still actually wants to be fairly connected to me, which is fine also. But I've ended my karma with him, so we can move forward that way, so we're not stuck to each other. Anyway, so that was a big deal in my life also. So no longer on this wheel, no longer, and now I know why we had that connection and we couldn't split away from each other, because we had that. So this is the last one. Now this is the connection to divine, which, by the way, the tree one was pretty damn divine. I'm not gonna lie. That was pretty intense and pretty lovely. And yeah, that was just good. But this last one now was the best, and I wanted to stay there. And I drop in, and I'm on this. I want to say it looks like the moon. I want to say it looks like the moon. That's what it looked like. It looked like craters of the moon. It was kind of dark and gray, actually. And I, thinking about it, I would want it to be water and beautiful and blue skies, and like, I don't know, crystals, or like, how like the vampires like sparkle in the sun, like that. But it wasn't. It was it looked like craters of the moon. There were levels. There were different levels all over. And it looked like a mountainside also, kind of like juts out, like rocks jutting out all over. And there were places like for people to stand and sit and all that, you know. And I could see as far as I would turn around, I could see as far as you could possibly, anyone could ever see in it, ever. Like an eagle. Like I could see as far as an eagle. Like it was like I could see further than I've ever been able to see. And I turned around and I looked around. And it started out with just me. It was just me. And I saw myself completely. And I was almost removed from myself. Like I was almost like hovering over myself. And then I looked, and then I looked further away, and there were people, but they didn't come in. They didn't come into focus until later. Like I focused, and they came, and they seemed to come closer and closer. They didn't move though, you know what I mean? They just appeared closer and closer and closer, and more 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 until the entire planet or whatever it was we were on, the entire surface of whatever area we were on, covered in people. Like, and they just stood quietly, shoulder to shoulder next to each other. Beautiful, perfect. And I looked, and they were all me. Every single one. They were all me. So, everywhere. They were everywhere. Millions of me. They were just like everywhere I'd look, and they looked all exactly the same. There was nothing distinct, you know, about the way I looked. It was like exactly perfect, like every single one of them. And they were all connected through spirit, through source, through their soul. They didn't have to talk, but I could feel all the wisdom and all the knowing of every single thing. I could feel every pain, every joy, ever. It was like if you were to stick your finger in a bowl of water, and that water had like an electrical current through it that connected to the soul of every person and everything that ever happened to anyone ever. And you could feel that from like just sticking your finger in a bowl of water. That's what it was like. But you didn't even have to do that. All you had to do is be in that space. And I felt so loved and so cared for. And so strong and so capable. Like, and all of those things didn't even matter. I just felt whole. Like I felt whole. And it was the connection that I'll never forget. It wasn't white light. It wasn't religion. It wasn't forced or manipulated or called upon even. You had to do nothing. Just be. I just was there. And I received everything. And I knew this is what life is really about. So it's not to say like that I'm on a high, that I need to keep finding this. I'm really grateful that I had that experience. And I know that after my human life is over here, that's what I go back to. So there's no fear. And I know also that that can be created here. We can create that. We all can. We also can learn the lessons that we're here to learn. And sometimes that's just to be and accept who you are. So I'm happy to share this with you. It was a really intense experience. If you ever get a chance to do a QHTT session, hypnosis, or past life regression or anything like that, you know, maybe this will help you to do something like that, or I don't know. It was just very good for me. And there's not much about it that I would say was negative or that I would have regretted or anything like that, because it was pretty amazing. So that's it. That's my interpretation of the divine. Okay, guys, I think I'm gonna do another one. I did another ceremony that I want to share, so I'll maybe make another video. We'll see how these go. All right, I hope you enjoy and are happy that I shared this and appreciate what I spoke about, and it wasn't too absolutely insane or crazy. Like I said, even if it is, so what? I don't really give a shit anymore. All right. Great. All right, love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.